So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Ladies, gentlemen, Wookiees of all ages, welcome to this very special emergency, oh my god, the world is ending podcast. With me tonight, and as always, we're using special emergency transceivers, including Mike, who is recording live from his mobile phone. Hi, Mike.
Yes. I'm good. I'm in the outer rim, and the hyperspace comms might be a little sort of janky, but we'll do our best.
And of course we have Lockie, he's manning down the main base. He's on top of everything. He's got the good microphone.
Yeah, no, I thought about, putting some wires in a potato and suspending it in liquid, but then I remembered I had this microphone, and I don't know what I was thinking.
So, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. This is the end. and maybe a beginning.
It was the times that were prophesized. It's the end times.
The end times are here.
Yes.
Actually,
It's
can
time to
I...
write less terrible books.
I gotta claim responsibility for this, actually, because our show has been cursed in the sense that releasing our content has made articles come out, and the last HoloNet news was pretty much the cheekiest one I've ever written. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so FFG did not like the fact that we attacked them directly.
Yep.
And so this happened. It's like one article came out. Oh, fine. Two articles came out. Oh, the next episode will be busy, but we can do it. X-Wing 2.0 comes out. Oh, for crying out loud.
That's all right.
God damn it.
Yeah, FFG flipped the table this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Mike, tell us, the world is coming to an end and I couldn't be happier. Tell me why.
X-Wing 2.0. This is probably, since I've started the game, is easily, apart from the launch of the game, is easily the biggest news that we've seen. It is a fundamental resetting, recreation, realignment, rebalancing. It's everything of X-Wing. It's they're rebuilding the game from the foundations up. And I tell you what, I could not be happier.
Yeah, it's
absolutely neither. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine.
Absolutely.
What is happening, Lockie? Let's get a bit more nitty gritty. X-Wing 1.0, I guess now is coming to an end. Have they told us when?
The rumors that I've been able to find point to September this year, which is a lot earlier than I would have expected. I would have thought it would come out in Q4 or maybe the start of next year, but allegedly this year.
Rumors, actually.
Although that might be the early release, though, is it?
So that's the release. So it's timed for the next Gen Con or whatever it is. So there actually will be come September. It will be. Release. So I actually watched the FFG live stream or a recording of the FFG live stream or their presentation where a lot of details were confirmed. So yeah, before Christmas, before the end of the year, we will be seeing X-Wing 2.0.
Right.
Good point you made there. Before Christmas, they're ready to bring it out for Christmas.
Yeah, they're not stupid.
Yep.
But it's and we should respond to more than one listener sort of sent us a message, all in good fun, pointing out the fact that we in our last episode said that 2.0 probably wouldn't happen, and then it did.
Yeah.
The reason we were convinced, I think it's all three of us, not just me. The reason we were convinced that it wouldn't happen was because it's such a huge undertaking that they probably wouldn't do it because it'd be too big. But everything we thought they wouldn't do, they're doing. So
I will claim one thing. I'm putting my hand up here and I'm saying I was right. They said in the article that certain cards will come in and out of rotation, and I absolutely call that.
Yeah, no, you did. You said that was a good thing. And I think Lachlan also called out the turret situation.
Yes.
And also, I think, I called out the fact that we needed sort of more thematic events, and that is going to be organised play, is going to be doing that kind of stuff. But look, I think in some respects a failure of imagination on our part, but also, hey, this is a case where I'm really happy to be wrong.
Okay, so tell me, Mike, you've done the research. You're in there. You're deep in the trenches. You're watching the enemy. 2.0 is here. What's the difference between 2.0 and 1.0?
There is. Look, if I was to distill it, so like when I was speaking to you guys, I can see three main themes that are happening here. First, the major theme we have here is it is a fundamental rebuilding of the ground up. So what we're seeing is we're getting rid of pilot skill, and we're seeing something called, and it's going to be initiative, so we're seeing a compression of that kind of what we used to call the PS, down to 6. 6 is the maximum. So
6 is the maximum?
6 will be the maximum, correct.
Whoa!
Yeah, now the reason for that is because you often had that sort of that spectrum or that spread of 1 to 9. You had all those pilots who sat in that kind of 3 to 6, that kind of dead zone.
But there was no point in paying the extra points to upgrade from a PS1 to a PS3. Like, there's no difference.
In fact, there was no difference, and also as part of that, you're getting rid of things like VI. So no more veteran instincts, no more PS races, which I think is fantastic. The ships themselves are being fundamentally redesigned in many ways. So, for example, a lot of stuff that would have been upgrades are now actually going to be part of the ship design. A best example I can think of that is like with the TIE Interceptor and the TIE Advanced. Things like push the limit, engine upgrade, how turrets work, all gone. So
really,
turrets will become like what we've seen on the Shadowcaster, so a mobile firing arc. Things like action economy, what we'll be seeing is like, so for example, if you used to fly the TIE Interceptor, like Sootufel, you'd have push the limit. So now what a lot of ships are getting are what we call red actions. So you can take a focus or an evade, and if you sort of go to their art and have a look at the cards, you'll see that one of the things that you can do, so I'm looking at, say, a B-Wing, and Lachlan, I chose that because you love the B-Wing.
Hooray!
You can take it. So we're looking at 10 num, which will be a PS4. The action you will take, or quote-unquote action you will take, will be a focus, and then you can do a barrel roll, which will give you the stress.
Yeah, I think they call them...
Wow.
They call them linked actions now. Linked actions. So you can do one action and then choose to do another action immediately afterwards, but the second one gives you a stress.
Correct. Ships themselves are being completely rethought, redesigned. So now, for example, the X-Wing comes with a native barrel roll.
Hey!
Yep. So when you think about with the new title that they've got there, that sort of makes a lot of sense.
Don't get too excited, Mike.
Yeah. They're introducing, it's sort of, in many respects, it's sort of, ship pilots are being redesigned, abilities are being changed. It's incredible what they're doing there. So let's think about it from its rebuilding from the ground up. The other thing which I'm detecting or seeing there is the game will become a lot more dynamic. So they're going to be releasing an app. So the app will be where you build your squads. It'll be officially supported. So when you start looking at the cardboard bases and stuff like that, and cards and et cetera like that, a lot of them actually won't have the points values. Ship bases or ship cards won't have the modifications listed. That'll be all handled by the app. So what that will mean is that if they want to say, hey, we shouldn't have given the Jumpmaster 12 upgrade slots, we can just get rid of that.
So they're trying to cut down everything that's a lot of the things that are on the cards so it can be changed whenever they want.
Yeah, so they can be changed, and you can also rebalance the point values on the fly. So they can respond a lot more quickly and in a more dynamic fashion. But it also means they can actually, one of the things they're talking about is that they will also be able to, this will be the way that they'll, so for example, they can put out thematic organised play events. If a new ship is released, there will be events tailored to that. There will be pre-built squads, and they'll also potentially use this app to harvest data. So who's flying what's getting used, and so that allows them to understand and respond to the game challenges in a more dynamic fashion.
That's fantastic. Lockie, tell me something else that is new and innovative. That word, just tell me.
Just say new, man. Just say new.
Innovative? There you go, got it.
New. So it seems like the other thing they're trying to do is get rid of redundancy. So I'm looking at the Imperial conversion kit now, and it seems like the TIE Advanced has the advanced targeting computer built into the card. Because let's face it, if you're flying a TIE Advanced, it was very likely that you were going to be using the advanced targeting computer. So they thought, look, it had gotten to the point where one ship had virtually one card kind of stapled to it. So they've gone, you know what? Let's just make that one card. So that's definitely something that's going to be good. And they're going to get rid of. People on the forum sort of referred to it as card bloat. So there were that many extra cards that, like, things like the Renegade refit, for example, made sense in version 1, and the Star Viper Mark II, the cards you had to put on to get the discount and to add something else, but they won't need that now. So we're not going to see things like ships getting specific buffs because it won't be necessary. Like, because this point ties into the next one, that you'll notice when you read the articles that some of the existing pilots don't have the same pilot ability from version 1. So, like, Corran Horn was stopping the E-Wing from getting buffed because his ability was too good. In version 2, that won't be his ability anymore. Therefore, there won't need to be an E-Wing buff because it won't. Yeah. So then you won't need to fly. You won't be required, pretty much, to fly the Star Viper, say, with that title on it, because the points cost will be appropriate right from the beginning. So
the way it'll be fixed.
Correct? Yeah.
It's not on the card. It'll be great.
Yeah. And the fact that
go ahead, Lachlan.
The fact that they're digitizing some of it. So you'll get the card, you'll always have the card, but then the official squad builder has the points cost, because you'll notice that the cards, the upgrades and the pilots, they don't have points printed on them. So that's something that you'll go on the website or the app, and you'll get the information there.
Now what's interesting is a lot of these there's some new tokens that are coming with the cards.
Yes.
And certain one I'm looking at right now, it seems to be like charges for cards. So like the example I'm looking at is R2D2 has basically R2D2's move, except his 1.0 move, except he has 3 charges, and once those 3 charges are up, that's it. And this seems to be the same for like proton torpedoes, so you're not going to have to spend the card bloat for extra munitions.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be able to change that often or however they need to. So if they ever find that a card is just too powerful, they say, okay, it has less buff than that.
Yeah. And look, the other thing that's worth noting about too, in terms of this balancing, is that the total point value is going to go up to 200. So it's going to go from 100 to 200. So that allows them to be more finely tune the values of cards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's 100% right. Like, if you double the points value, you now have an extra 5, I guess. Maneuvering. It's great.
Yeah. So, like if you find that a particular pilot or ability, if it's priced at 10 points, but it's being abused or it needs to be fine-tuned, it can go up to 20, or if it's a ship that's is not seeing play, you could reduce its points value to encourage people to fly it. So
I thought the reason that they were putting it up to 200 was because it was easier to balance, because they couldn't have decimals. Like if there was a card that should probably have cost about so there'd be cards
that's
in
the other reason as well.
In current
it's just the maths is simpler.
Exactly, because then they don't have to decide to make a card cost either 3 points or 4 points, because really it should have cost 3.5. They'll just make it cost 7.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah
that too. And that's what I mean, like you can more finely tune the value of cards and as such. So, because, and I think, look, when I was listening to the developers, one of the things they talked about and they were upfront about is sort of like, when they're play testing, when they're doing the design thing, it's an artificial environment. So it's really hard to judge the value or the potential cost of things. It's not until it actually hits the community and the community goes through that iterative process of designing and tinkering and stuff like that. So it gives them a tool to be able to balance the game if they find issues.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Go.
When it comes to the digital copies and they have an app for it, I'm assuming you'd probably put in like your purchase. Like there are actually some kits that come out of all the boxes that says like product bought, product clarification number. Do you reckon those could be used to basically remove the necessity of cards? And something that's happened to me recently is I lost a bunch of my cards. It just I was at a tournament. Yeah, you guys were there. I was at a tournament and I've lost a bunch of my cards, and I'm not going to go buy another bunch of packets to get those specific cards. Now, if I put in there in the thing that just says product detail, I put it in. Do you reckon I'll be able to just create my list on the app, on a tablet or a phone, and say, here you go, buddy, this is my list?
Yep, that's the intent.
So do you reckon there'll be any physical copies of the cards anymore?
Oh yeah, they're going to make physical copies of the cards, because otherwise there's no sort of accountability in that sense. Like you rock up to a tournament and yes, your list is digital, but you have the legitimate cards. Otherwise, really all you need is the models, and you don't have to actually buy anything.
But that's exactly what I mean. I mean, I could go and buy the models, and in that packet comes the confirmation code that I've in fact bought that, and so then it unlocks a series of cards.
Look, I don't think so. My understanding is that it's a free app, and it'll provide the ability to do like the squad builder. So like in the same way you have the squad builders on your app, on your phone now, and on the internet.
So you'll still need the cards for physical verification that you have them.
Look, I don't know. I would assume that for organised play, for official play, then probably the same rules that apply now will apply, as in you'd need to actually demonstrate that you have the actual, official merchandise.
That's what I mean.
But for casual play, I mean, we proxy all the time. So if you turn up to your local game store and all you got is the app and a couple of models, yeah, sure, go for it. You can also, my understanding is the app can also allow you to print it out, to export, so it's going to have a lot of functionality. In many respects, what I'd say is that it's following the model of other sort of skirmish games like Warmer Hordes. So in that, like I've played that a little bit, as in, you have cards, but it has an app, you build your squads there, you can actually track damage, you can do all that kind of stuff that way, and the developers of that game actually, that's how they balance the game. If they find there's an issue, like they push out the changes there.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to what have they actually announced for release?
The conversion kits. The conversion kits are the important thing, because people are worried, are they going to be able to use their whole collection? So the models are the same. The models you have will be the models for the next game. The things that change are the cards, the tiles, and the dials. So now you buy a kit for each faction, and in that kit will come the tiles, dials, and cards you need to play. So they've changed the tiles now, so every ship has printed on the tile the fore and aft, forward firing arc, rear firing arc, and bullseye firing arc. We don't know, and it seems unlikely that every ship will use every one of those things, but it sort of future-proofs them in the sense that now cards can rely on those things. Like, they've shown new Crackshot uses the bullseye firing arc somehow. It leaves space to do something like the TIE Punisher and the B-Wing, say, as a fix for them. They could have Reinforce, or whatever the next game's version of Reinforce will be. There'll be cards, something like Outmaneuver in version 2 will probably be like, if you are in the enemy's rear firing arc and it's not one they can shoot with, then you get a bonus or something. So so you don't have to buy a new expansion pack for each ship. Like, every conversion kit comes with multiples of each ship. It seems like sort of strange amounts. Like, the Imperial one, for example, only comes with two TIE Defenders, but it comes with 3 TIE Advanced prototypes, which in version 1 you would want more Defenders and fewer prototypes, but we don't know what version 2 is going to be like. So, yeah. But the only thing that annoys me about version 2 so far is people are saying, look, they don't want to spend, they kind of resent it. It feels like a buy-in. It's going to be annoying in the short term, but I feel like ultimately this kit for multiple ships is going to cost the same as you would pay for one ace pack with only 2 ships in it. So I think in the fullness of time, you'll think of it as being okay. The only thing I find annoying is you have to buy another core set. That's the only thing that annoys me. Is I feel like the rule book will probably be digital, so I shouldn't have to, I won't. If the rule book was physical only and not digital, I'd probably buy a core set to get the rules to play, but it seems like you don't have to do that, so it's just another core set.
I see your point there.
I think most of the controversy I've seen has been over the issue of money, and that somehow FFG is not a capitalist company, but
they only want our best interests at heart, truly.
Yes, they do it. Look, still not knowing enough. Like, there are some fundamental changes. Like, for example, with the core set issue. Like, even things like the movement templates and the range and all the rest of it, they're changing as well. Like, the actual, like, if you look at the movement templates, there's a line down the middle of that template which is there to help you guide and sort of get sort of more precise movement type stuff. The other thing is also, the tokens are changing, the physical tokens, so the actual shapes. So tokens which are round, like the focus and evade and all that kind of stuff, they'll stay around, but they're only intended to be there for the one round, if that makes sense. Whereas other tokens, like iron tokens or other kind of type stuff, they're square, and they're meant to end. That's like a visual indicator, a way to indicate that they have a different effect or different duration. So I think the game is, and look, maybe I sound like an apologist, maybe I am being an apologist, but the game is changing in every fundamental level. And I think there's also a new damage deck as well that will have less direct hits in it and other effects as well. So all this collateral is really the fact that the game is being redeveloped, like every fundamental component of it.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm getting at. There are small changes that seem maybe unnecessary, like the big changes, like the changing of the colors from green to blue on the dials for colorblind people. Like, it's a really small thing that most people would overlook, but it's great because it's really inclusive. But there's
I love that. That's nice.
Yeah, there's a small thing though. Like, I feel like they could have just the damage deck could have stayed the same. I don't know. Like,
I'm with you on the damage deck. Well, the real question at the end of the day is, maybe we don't. Maybe you don't need to buy another core set. Maybe you can use these tokens, especially if all you're going to do is be buying, conversion kits. It says that you need one, but I don't know.
You
Well,
will.
there might be ways to get around it. Are the dice different?
Oh, they better not be.
No, the dice are the same.
Well, then probably not. You'd probably be able to find a way around it.
Look, I think, and I've heard pro and con. If you've spent a couple thousand on X-Wing at this point, then you're not hurting the cash, I'm sorry.
Yeah, totally, yeah. Totally
what I
agree.
mean? It's kind of like, oh, I have to spend it. Yeah, but at the same time, there are people in the community who kind of like, don't work, or it's harder, or they've got other priorities, and that's okay. But look, and this sort of brings me, I think it's the other thing which we haven't touched upon yet, is what I call the sort of thematic redevelopment of the game. We're going to move from 3 factions to 5 factions.
5 factions?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Tell me.
What? Yes. So the expansion. So these kids. So the First Order and the Galactic Empire will split out into 2 different factions. The Resistance and the Rebels will split out to 2 different factions as well.
So what we separate the good movies from the bad movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, that was a bit of insult.
No, that's right. So people are like, does that mean we get the Clone Wars? No, we do not get the Clone Wars.
Oh, that's those gunships in the Clone Wars are awesome. I want them.
Yeah. So what FFG is doing in these first 3 conversion kits is that we are getting the classic spaceships. These are the ships that were in sort of like the early waves of the game. So it's X-Wings, TIE Fighters, the TIE Bands, it's Slave 1. It's all those iconic ships, and then they'll sort of kind of like there'll be more conversion kits, and also there's also new blister packs, and these blister packs also come with new pilots and new sculpts, and that's the other thing is like you would love this. The Y-wing is getting a complete resculpt.
I saw that. I read it here. It said the BT. Where are you? It is like the BT A something Y-wing.
Yeah.
Hang on. BTL A4 Y-wing expansion pack. That means there's going to be multiple Y-wings. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And the Y-wing gets a barrel roll.
Yes.
A native barrel roll.
The
X-Wing is going to be a resculpt that comes with the articulated wings, which we're now seeing in the Saw Gerrera pack.
Yeah.
Very, very specifically clear. These wings move. Like, okay, we get that.
Yeah.
Good.
The Fire Spray is going to get a resculpt, is my understanding.
Yeah, it looks like it.
The reason the Fire Spray is getting a resculpt is because they're introducing medium-sized bases.
Correct, and that's the other thing as well.
Yeah. So the Fire Spray will probably be a medium. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But,
that certainly makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's nowhere near supposed to be as big as the Millennium Falcon. It's like a 4 inches.
Yeah.
As opposed to a freighter.
Yeah.
So the medium size will make things... Yeah, it'll make things a bit easier to balance. Like, just because something's not a tiny fighter doesn't mean it's a massive ship. Like, the Ark, say, is going to be a medium one, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, and there's things like the Miranda's the K-wing. It's too big for a small base. It's too small for a big base. It makes a lot of sense to me. I love it. Okay, so closing thoughts. Anything else that wants to be added? Oh, I do want to say there's one thing. Like, someone pointed out, it's like, oh, what about all those people who just bought a bunch of alt-art cards? I'm like, well, you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, you can...
David Entor.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That sounds... that probably sounds a little harsh. Look, the other thing is, and again, I heard this on the live stream, I think it's, again, not being an apologist, if you want to play X-Wing 1.0, there's nothing stopping you. You can still play it. If you own the materials, you can still play it. Like, there are people... When you think about the other tabletop games, there were plenty of Warhammer people who didn't like various editions. We saw this in Dungeons and Dragons,
Oh, yeah. No, 4th edition's terrible. 3.5 is where it's at. I don't play anything except 3.5, so...
Yeah.
So, will FFG have said they will not produce any more 1.0 stuff after the release of 2.0? Okay, well, I don't know, man. I've got 3 boxes of stuff. I'm going to sit on that for a few years, and that's my retirement fund.
Unopened, like, first wave. Oh, that's true, actually. I think a lot of the old Warhammer stuff from, like, 20 years ago, like, those original sculpts, they're worth quite a lot of money now.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a few unopened blisters, so I'll just tuck them away. So there you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts from you, Lockie?
Well, and the game has force powers in it as well. We know that. We just can't really talk about it tonight because we don't know enough. We don't have enough time. Closing thoughts from me. I am pro X-Wing 2.0. I understand and acknowledge anybody who's a little bit frustrated with the money side of things, but that will be short term. I'm sure, as time goes by, you'll probably feel better about it, because I can tell you from my work, I build furniture for a living, and sometimes people bring us broken furniture to repair, and we repair it. But sometimes you look at something that's so broken or has been repaired multiple times, and you just cannot fix it, because the act of fixing something multiple times will ultimately weaken it. And I realize that's
I like to believe X-Wing 1.0. I'm just seeing this X-Wing that's just kind of being held together with duct tape and hope.
Yeah. So look, I think they've been kind of clever over the years. They introduced Quinjast, then they introduced Reload, then they introduced the Bullseye firing arc and Reinforce, and they got us to subtly test all these things, so they knew what was going to work. So then and the rotating arc on the Shadowcaster, so now they could be like, right, this is now how turrets work, this is now how ordnance works, and this, so it's a big deal, but I think it's going to be better. I'm going to miss version 1. I'm sentimental about it because I love it. I'm going to miss it, but X-Wing...
Will you play 2.0, Mike?
Oh, hell yeah, I'm in. We're not a show, we're sort of, we focus on the positive and community. Quietly in the background, I've been vocal about my disenchantment, about a number of things, particularly what I like to call Magic the Gathering with spaceships. It's sort of, basically it's turrets and wombo combo type stuff. What I see with this rebalancing is that it returns it to more a game about flying and positioning. The fact that the turret nerf, I think that's a huge improvement, just that alone.
Lockie, will you play it?
I will play X-Wing version 2, I will. Eventually we'll come to know it as just X-Wing.
Yes. I myself will absolutely be playing it, and no, this podcast will not end. I just wanted to say a quick story. I was driving to work at, I think it was like 6 a.m. And I'm going to swear very loudly, but I will bleep it. And I knew that FFG was going to do this live stream. I didn't know what was in it, but I didn't tune in for it. And then in the morning, I'm driving down. I'm at the lights, and I look down at my phone, and I just see the group conversation that just says, "We're fucked."
It was the only word I could think of to send you. Because think about how it feels to be Australian. Like, the Americans got this thing at midday. It was 3 a.m. for us. Some people, like our mate Harry Nick, for example, stayed up and watched it at 3 a.m. But for the rest of us, we had to wake up and find out that the game had exploded overnight.
Yeah, like the Facebook page and the personal messages just blew up. It was like...
Just want to do some quick Facebook housekeeping. We normally respond to every message we get, but in the past 3 days from the night of this recording, if you sent us a message and either didn't get a response back, or you did, but it seemed really short, please don't feel bad about that. It was... a bit more a bit more hectic on our Facebook than usual.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I agree. It's been pretty full on. Like, I've started a new job. Mike, you're always busy. You started uni.
Yep.
Lockie, he's just trying to hold himself together at this point. So I was going to say this was a short episode. It hasn't been. It's been like almost 40 minutes now. We were trying for 20. We're just that excited.
Yeah, look, I'm excited. I think it's great.
I know this hasn't been a normal episode. I'm sorry about the law. We're sorry about everything, but this has been an emergency broadcast. How are things holding up together on your end, Lockie? Is everything fine at base?
I'm putting out the fires as they start. Yeah, it's fine. We're all here. We're all fine here now. How are you? No, I know this. I know this isn't a normal episode. Didn't have any of the normal bits, but I think the one thing that we do need to acknowledge, as we normally would, is a mini shout out section, because we finally, our goal was to hit 500 likes on Facebook. We finally did it, and it goes. So I wanna shout out to Scott, Mason, and Will Karch. Because the 500th like was Scott, he's the dad, Mason and Will are his sons, and they play X-Wing together and as a family, and I just thought that was really lovely, and I wanted to shout out to that. So, yeah. Thank you.
I myself have a quick shout out to Top Deck Games in Sunshine. I was walking past there one day, and I just had a passing conversation with them about how I was trying to buy some brush cleaner. And they didn't have it in stock, and I went back there recently just to pass time, and it was like, oh, I got that brush cleaner you wanted, and I'm like, I didn't even want it, and then it's like, oh yeah, I had to go up to this model train shop, and they've just been holding it there for like 2 months. Yeah, it was so nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
Any shout outs for you, Mike?
Look, I'm not an individual, but I think to all the listeners who sent us stuff, who commented, like what he said, there's been a lot happening, but I think, thank you for letting us know and the support.
Thank you for listening to this very special emergency broadcast of Hell of a Pilot. Lockie is going to be busy fighting fires. Mike, I hope you're still undercover. You're doing well. Just act natural. I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably clear some space in my cupboard for X-Wing. Thank you, everybody, and good night.